So let's get started with Roberto. Prego.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. And I'm very pleased to be here. It's very exciting. We've been working with NETGEAR and Panasonic for many years, and it's a real pleasure. So let me show you what we have done with NDI 5 and then with NDI 5.5 in the last 2 years. Yes, I mean, NDI is the unstoppable stream toward the future. And because for us, NDI is our video over IP and audio over IP technology. So in 2021, we released NDI 5. And with the 5 version of NDI tools, we introduce new technology and new tools. One of the main important feature, I would say, is reliable UDP. Reliable UDP is a technology that is helping user to simplify the network. I mean, the NDI usage and the network infrastructure. This has been probably the biggest step forward for NDI. Then we made a lot of improvement. For example, improvement in Discovery Server. We enable network interface selection and some more tools. For example, we introduced NDI Audio Direct, which is an NDI VST3 plugin that enable audio workflow with NDI. And then we introduce NDI Bridge. NDI Bridge is a fantastic tool that allow user to share over internet, over a wide area network, multiple NDI source. Is bidirectional, support every NDI capability. For example, is support multi-channel audio, bidirectional metadata, PTZ control, KBM, is a very important tool. And then we introduce NDI Remote, which is a very simple way to share your video over internet. In 2022, we introduced NDI 5.5 with new feature and new tools. One important tool is the NDI router. Is basically simulating an SDI workflow. So every user now can create a complex routing just using a single application. With NDI router, I don't need anymore to, for example, to select and receive and decide to receive a source on the receiver side, but I can have this application in the middle that manage basically the cross point of NDI signal. And then we introduce NDI Remote 2 with the tollback function and screen capture. And this is very important. I mean, this is a very big update in NDI webcam where we can use now up to 4 simultaneous sources. And we add a very important feature in NDI Audio Direct, where now it's possible to configure audio level both as a source or as an output. Another very important feature that is probably, I mean, not really visible, but is really important. So you can define which kind of application part of the NDI tools will be launched on system startup. For example, this is very important for cloud deployment because I mean, every time I run a cloud machine, I can set up the auto start of webcam screen capture with KVM, NDI Bridge, or Studio Monitor, or the NDI router. Then we introduce a new plugin for Unreal Engine with cross-platform support and support for Unreal Engine 5. And this is very important, a new end-user registration. Why is important? Because with this new registration, we allow third party to pre-install NDI tools in a computer. And this is again has been a big request for cloud deployment. So a third-party organization can pre-install NDI tools, and then the end user perform the registration. This is another interesting tool that is part of the SDK, NDI Free Audio. NDI Free Audio is a very small application that exists for many different platforms, for Windows, for Linux. So with NDI Free Audio, you can use any kind of computer, for example, a Raspberry Pi. If you connect an audio sound card to a Raspberry Pi, then you can run this application and make this small computer as a NDI audio I/O. And we enable SDK improvement. For example, with the advanced SDK, we allow to specify NDI quality. We improve MDNS and discovery support, and we add FPGA decoding with the advanced SDK. I think is all for now. And as you can see, we are actively working improving NDI. More new feature will come, more new improvement will come, and we'll keep you updated on that. Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for that, Roberto. So now we'll be moving to our presentations from Mads and Richard. So take it away.
Hello everyone, my name is Mads and I'm the Sales Engineer, Project Manager and PDZ Specialist with Panasonic Europe. So today I'm going to talk about the Panasonic PDZ ecosystem. We already sold over 200,000 units globally, so we tend to call ourselves the PDZ architect. We do that because we have a wide range of protocols and integration, robotics, free software, auto tracking and automation, outdoor solutions and accessories, paint panels, control panels and 4K switches. On our website, you don't just have a list of products, you can actually go on a safari yourself to explore our products. It's a great way of seeing new things that you haven't seen before and see what is needed in a studio to make everything work. And I also think it's a very fun way to go on exploring yourself to see what is going on and maybe come across new products that you haven't even thought about. So please go and have a look for yourself because it's very nice. Let's have a look at the current PDZ lineup from Panasonic. So we have entry models ranging all the way up to specialist models. And of course, as you see, NDI and NDI HX is of course supported in most of our models. We lately introduced a new camera called the UE160, and that is the one I want to talk about today. So let's have a look at some of the features. So we have a wide angle lens with 20 times zoom. We have a brand new sensor with extremely high sensitivity. We have a new focus system, which is a combination of phase detection autofocus and contrast autofocus. We have a moire reduction filter for LED wall shooting, and we are the first PDZ ever to support SMPTE 2110. We have full bandwidth NDI in 4K 60p, of course. And then we have support for a 5G USB dongle for remote production. We are also the first camera to support 120 frames of high-speed output in 1080p. Then we have a waveform monitor, a level gauge to support you for doing setup. So let's have a look at some of the features here. So the high image quality to capture subjects even in the dark is very important. And now you can use this camera for doing video in theaters, musical concerts, and even conferences when zooming in a lot and you need a lot of light. This new sensor performs absolutely fantastic. The new autofocus system is a combination of face detection autofocus and contrast autofocus to provide fast, accurate and less confused autofocus. So instead of going back and forth to find the right point, it knows the distance and goes to that point immediately. And the user interface also displays the direction of the focus when in manual mode, so it's easier to use. If the 20 times zoom is not enough, you can also use the cropping function. So here in this instance, we have a situation with this interview where we have a total and then we have some crop frames framing in the two persons speaking to each other. In the camera, you can then select what to output from the camera's output. And then you suddenly have 3 cameras in one. To sum it up, some of the other features, we have a high-speed output, we have the built-in optical low-pass filter, we have image stabilization, we have a horizontal level gauge display. Scene files can be copied from one camera to the other, so you have the same settings on all the cameras. And of course, as I said, we have the waveform display. We also feature large tally lamps, both front and rear, so it's easy to see what's going on in the studio. If you're working with 702110, you also have the possibility of sending a return video feed. So the footage is sent back from the switcher to the camera so that the cast can check the final footage. In this situation here, this weathercast man looking at the screen for seeing what he's doing on the green screen. During COVID, we had to explore new ways of showing our camera products when we couldn't travel around and shipping them around to the customers. So we decided to build a virtual demo room. We hung up all the cameras. We built a little studio with a table, a bar, some lights and jukebox, some bottles, and then suddenly we had a stage. So now you can go in and book a session. You can choose a camera to look at, and then you can go full screen to see what is going on in the picture. And you are able to choose between different presets to maneuver the camera. You're also able to zoom in, use the focus, the iris, the white balance, and you can even dim the lights in the room or change the lights temperature. You can also shut them off completely if you want to check out the sensitivity of the different cameras. And if you want to check out the different viewing angles of the different camera models, you can also do that, as well as checking out how far the zoom goes. So this is a very nice way to check out all the cameras in our lineup to see how they perform. So please have a look at that yourself. We can also do a guided tour where we will guide the customers through the various software that we have, the auto tracking system, and so on. So that was what I wanted to show with you today. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to hear all your questions. Thank you.
Hi, this is Richard with NETGEAR. And today we would like to talk about how to deploy NDI in the best and easiest possible way with NETGEAR. Welcome. We built AV over IP switches. Why did we do that? Because, well, AV is one planet and IT is the other planet. And people from AV don't speak IT language and the other way around. While people in the AV world talk about protocols like NDI. People on the IT side talk about IP addresses and multicast and Ethernet cables and IGMP. And to use AV over IP on an IT switch, well, it requires that you know a little bit of both worlds. And that's what we're trying to do. So we've built products for the AV over IP deployments using IT knowledge in the back, but applying learnings from the AV world so that AV people can use these switches and deploy them without having to understand all the IT speak, just by using AV technology learnings. And I'll show you how that works. We've worked with over 180 manufacturers in the AV over IP space, including NewTek, NDI, and Panasonic, and others. to really fine-tune our products to work with the applications in broadcast or commercial AV where NDI is often used. For that, we have completely changed the look and feel of our switches because, well, IT switches, you know them. They sit in a data center, they're loud, they work as a blow dryer for your hair as well as a patch system for all kind of cables, right? That's how it looks. They don't have the look and feel usually of a nice AV deployment. So here we did it differently with the AV line M42 line of switches. We put the connectors at the back, but indicators, LEDs on the front. So while your cables are neatly hidden behind the rack, you still have your indicators in front of you. So that nicely integrates with an AV setup, whether that's commercial or residential or in broadcast. We have a wide range of products. In the M4250 series alone are now 13 different switches, all the way from 8 ports PoE, 125 watts, up to a 2U high rack product for 32 times 90 watts PoE++. You can pick those products either with 1 gig uplink or 10 gig uplinks, depending on the need and the amount of endpoints in your network. This all results then in a clean integration, depending on the size. This could be as small as a desktop, let's say 25 centimeters wide set of products, or a full rack with equipment for thousands of endpoints. We can do it all. So with NDI, there's something specific. NDI is a network device interface and basically helps you to transport audio and video coming from a source to a destination over the network. Underlying are a lot of concepts that you shouldn't be dealing with. We should solve that for you. And we've done that. This is the result of a test with Roberto with NewTek last year, where we compared running NDI 4 and NDI 5 over a network in one VLAN, and then we found out when does it work well, when doesn't it work well. And we continue to do these tests to make sure that our switches are preset for the right flavors, which means if you go to NDI 5, you would pick the NDI 5 protocol in the switch, and all settings are good, including things like flow control and jumbo frames and all those things you don't want to deal with. We handle this, and we continually test it with multiple manufacturers, including Panasonic, to make sure that our network switch works as the best possible NDI solution. We have a lot of training material online, how to configure, for example, NDI 5 on our switches. Here's my colleague John Henkel from San Jose, California, talking you through the interface of the M4250 switch and helping you to deploy NDI in the best possible way. And maybe you just don't want to handle NDI. You may want to handle an audio source as well. For example, Dante. Or you want to have NDI, but you want to break out Dante and do something else with it. Dante is an audio protocol that deserves to be treated in its own way and doesn't always play nice with other protocols. So NETGEAR helps you put Dante on a separate VLAN, for example, and make sure that the traffic flows there where it has to go. Not only do we have training videos, we have our own Pro AV design team that is always available for a personal consultation. And this can be a pre-sales meeting where you just want to talk about how you want to deploy NDI, and they can advise you on how to set it up. Or you want help with the setup, or you want to talk about an upgrade of an existing deployment. We are here to help. Another course we do, actually our most famous one, is Top 10 Tips for AV over IP Network Design. It's the result of all the consultations we had for tens of thousands of AV over IP networks, and the 10 most important pitfalls that you have when designing such a network. Let me talk you through. Most important is pick AV over IP capable switches that are able to do multicast, that are able to do the things you want from an AV over IP network, which means you separate audio, video, control, and data, which means a managed switch, also one that is capable of handling the specific needs of NDI, if you do this in multicast, for example, and also the speed it needs to have in terms of compute, as well as the connection speed with other switches. Get trained on network design, find out what the requirements are, which is counting the inputs, the outputs, the sources and the targets, and then do the math on the total required networking speeds. Organize your audio, video, and VLANs. Remember, ports are full duplex. That means 1 gigabit in and 1 gigabit out can happen at the same time. It's not like HDMI where you pick one and then the other. An Ethernet port can do both at the same time. Quality of service was a thing 15 years ago, not really something to worry about. We handle that easily now with our modern silicon. Design for scale, not for today, but also for tomorrow. Create a dedicated AV network. Don't mix AV over IP with data and control that ends in tears. You don't have to buy extra switches. Just make sure that the AV is handled only by switches done for AV. And finally, use quality transceivers so it doesn't break when you go from a switch to a fiber cable and use an inferior module. Most important tip, however, is to consult us before you start at proavdesign@netgear.com. We're here to help 24/7. With that said, more information you can find on netgear.com/proav. Thank you very much. We will help you when you deploy NDI, and we'll make it easy for you. Thank you.